We're delighted to be joined this morning by Trejayne, who's a glassworker based in Scotland, and who for the past 4 years has been self-learning the art of flame working, a modern version of glass blowing that uses a torch rather than a furnace. During this time, she has documented her learning journey via social media and has grown a successful following of nearly 2 million people, which is absolutely astounding. She hopes by sharing her experience online that it will encourage a younger demographic to take up the craft. So welcome to Jane. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Really good, thank you. Really excited about the next hour. So yeah, if you're happy, we'll jump into the questions and then maybe take some from the audience later.
Absolutely, yeah, let's do it.
Great. So let's go back to the start, and maybe a bit about your childhood. You've managed to maintain this joy of making that many of us do experience in childhood, but sadly, a lot of us lose that joy as we grow up. So when you were a kid, were you particularly creative? How did that manifest in you? And how did you manage to keep that spark alive into adulthood?
Yeah, I was definitely very much a creative kid. I was also very adventurous. I loved being outdoors. I loved playing. Yeah, all that joy. I was very much a bit of a tinkerer as well. I remember just like I loved taking things apart and understanding how things worked as well. So I think that all that curiosity and kind of like asking always the question of like, oh, why does this work like this, and why does this happen, and like that fueled with creativity, I think, yeah, has launched me where I am. But yeah, it's an interesting question though. To like, I'm not entirely sure exactly what kept that spark alive, other than that lingering feeling, a question of yeah, why, and the adventure of exploring through medium and through craft. I don't think through any other way, any other job that I've experienced in my life, it doesn't allow you to do that. So
Was your creativity nurtured in school, or was it kind of outside school that
It was inside school in that I was actually really terrible at most of the core subjects. I was not
okay.
academically very able. So therefore, like naturally leaned into the more like food tech and woodworking and all that kind of thing. So yeah, excelled there. But it did, yeah, with not being academically inclined. I think it meant also lots of things were actually closed off, which was a bit of a shame. But had some great teachers there.
Right. So was glassworking your first foray into professional crafts, or did you try other things before you got there?
Yeah, well, I did an art therapy degree, and I also did fine art. So I got to try lots of different things, but nothing really landed with me. I enjoyed them all, but nothing really spoke to me. And I got to the end of my fine art degree and had a bit of a wobble as to, oh my God, what am I going to do? Went back into waitressing for quite a while. And it wasn't until I found this random ad on Gumtree where it was so minimal in its description of it was just like a jewelry maker for over Christmas. Okay, well that's creative. I'll give that a bash. I did a city in guilds in silversmithing in a really basic way, and it turned out to be a glass studio. And from the second I did it, it was just yeah, nothing had got me in that way. And it was like I went to bed thinking about glass. I woke up thinking about glass. That was it.
Amazing. It's crazy to think about those sliding door moments. If you hadn't seen that advert, you'd probably be doing something completely different now.
Exactly, yeah. And it's such a rare thing to be able to get into, I think. It's not exactly an easy thing. So
Yeah.
super lucky.
Brilliant. And so on your fine art degree and was it art therapy degree, did you say?
Yeah.
Was there many opportunities to do applied arts, or was it more on the conceptual side, the theoretical side?
It was well, the fine art was actually a lot of facilitation skills. It was actually doing workshops around the arts and bringing in different communities and demographics and how you can kind of like work with them, which I found so lovely because it was people at the heart of the creativity. Um, Whereas my fine art, yeah, was certainly a lot more practical, very hands on. But it was very much a go write a brief and then go fulfill that brief. So there was a lot of training actually, which I now apply a lot to my current work. So I
Uh,
love the combination of the two, and I wouldn't have pictured how this would have helped me where I am, but they really do apply so strongly.
yeah, that really makes sense because your approach is you can kind of see the underlying pedagogy, the having stages of learning and really setting it out in a really clear way. That's great. So when you first wanted to become a glass worker, then you'd had this initial experience. What training did you need and how did you find what you needed? Was it easy to find the training?
Well, I did my like it was a temporary part-time job when I started at the glass studio. And I learnt the basics of bead making, which is kind of a soft glass only and it's very small, but knowing how to use your equipment and the I was allocated a lot of jobs. I found it very difficult to work within those lines. I always wanted to ask the questions of how do I do this, how do I do that. So yes, I learned a lot through it. But there was certainly then, after it came to an end at the end of Christmas, I helped them fulfill all the Christmas orders. And then after that, it gets really quiet, like most businesses do. And so, in order to pursue it, I had to pick it up myself and get the equipment and do the learning, yeah, just on your own accord. But I had the fundamentals, those beginner blocks to have the confidence to actually keep pursuing. Without that, I don't know if I could have done it.
Was that things like books and YouTube that you were picking things up from?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's my glass blowing guides are fantastic, but being such a visual learner, I think YouTube was not quite as expansive as I would have liked the education to be. It's very niche. A lot of the videos you can find of tutorials are maybe not great quality and they're quite old.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, I waffled quite a lot there.
No, that's great. Just to take the opportunity just to ask people in the audience, please do ask your questions in the chat. I can see some questions coming in already. That's brilliant. We'll come back to those shortly. So unlike a lot of crafts people who have a public profile, you're very honest and open about your skills gaps. And I think that's a very healthy attitude. You do find some people go to great lengths to avoid the things that they find challenging. They kind of put them to one side and bury their heads in the sand a little bit. Kind of the fear of failure or not being able to master something. Do you experience that sense of a fear of failure? And if so, how do you overcome it in the way that you do?
Yeah, no, I definitely still feel it. Every single time I post, even it's still like it goes so against. You want to push yourself out as being professional, like, oh, look what I can do, and to be proud of what you do and stuff. And I am. It's just that, yeah, the reality of like, I don't think anybody's born naturally capable of doing anything. There's all these hours, like hundreds of hours that go into refining a craft and getting good at something. And it's that love for it that keeps you coming back. So yeah, definitely still feel it. It's just overcoming it is simply being proud of each step up the ladder that you build. And just because maybe someone else would look at it immediately and be like, oh, well, maybe that's not very good. It's like, well, it took me 20 hours to get to this point. And look how much better it is compared to last week. You can see the growth. So as long as I see value in what I'm doing, then I hope other people can as well. And 100% of the time, really, they do. So
Yeah, definitely. But I think a lot of people on Instagram particularly only post their perfect things. And obviously it's highly curated. So a kind of a young maker looking at that can feel a bit overwhelmed that they're not up to that level yet.
100%. And I think it just instills that, like, yeah, the fear of worry, failure, and stuff. But and I don't blame people for wanting to put their best work out. We all do. But I think there's something very humbling and wonderful to be like, it's a community of people being like, this is what I can do. I'm learning, and everybody chiming in, oh my god, that's great. Because crocheting, for example, I can't crochet. My sister can do it just without looking, and to me, that's magic. Maybe to her, it's like, oh, I'm just making a simple thing, but like anybody outside of that craft can see the joy in it and the skill that goes in, the time.
Definitely. Well, maybe you'll master crochet eventually. We've got some makers who could spend some time with you on that. So kind of along those same lines, what's the most challenging technique that you've mastered or on the road to mastering? And on the other side, what skills are you looking forward to learning or refining in the future?
Mhm. I'm really, really glad we're finally on to the hollow skills. It's taken me so long even just to get to this point. So it's lovely to see that finally developing, like mastering goblets. Ever since I started, goblet making was just like, oh my God, like how do they even do that? That's just incredible. That's who I want to be one day. That to me, when you can make a perfect goblet, you're like a master glass blower at that point. I haven't refined. It's going to take me years to get refined as much as those ones. But just the fact that I'm even touching upon it now is like, we're there. It's happening finally. Like years of manifesting to be where you want to be, and you can see it now is very, very exciting. So just refining that, I think, even more. And what that means, those skills, if you can make a goblet, you can make a perfume bottle, you can make this, you can make that. So it's that enabling step, a huge jump, which is like, yeah, I love where we are right now.
Brilliant. And yeah, with your skills tree, you can kind of remind yourself of how far you've come. A lot of people
Mhm.
probably quite quick to forget the struggles that they had in the past, so they don't realize how much progress they're making now.
Exactly. I think keeping it all, even when I complete that thing, I'll keep it forever. I'll frame it as a, that snapshot in time. And yeah, exactly as you say, you can track your progress and be very proud.
Fantastic. So yeah, with over 1 million TikTok followers, you've made glassworking accessible to a global audience. So was the social media career the plan from the beginning, or was it something of a happy accident? How
I
did
did not think anybody was going to watch ever. It was not really the plan at all. I certainly was never one to really put myself out there or to. I didn't like the idea of being an influencer. I
Mhm.
much prefer to see it as content creating. Like first and foremost, glass is what I do. This is my career, my occupation. The filming and the documentation is part of it. And it's lovely to be able to share it. And I'm so glad that people responded as well as they did. I'm even today so shocked and grateful to have that support and have that community backing you.
So what do you attribute the popularity to? Do you think it's your personality, or is it the skills?
Not skills. So I think it's I think it's just the what we were talking about earlier of like putting yourself out there and not being fantastic. I think it pulls a lot of people together to know that we're all learning, and there is no age limit on learning and what you want to do. Um, it's lovely to be able to grow and also see other people making their skill trees and like I've started to learn this, I'm doing that, and just like the the ripples that creates in learning and what people are then achieving. Ah, the best, the best.
Yeah, so it makes that sliding doors moment of you seeing that advert and getting into glass even bigger because you're now rippling out to other people and
Yeah, and
effectively.
it's not just glass; it's so
Hmm.
many crafts. So I'm so overjoyed. Can't believe it.
Good, good. So the TikTok community, do they influence your creative choices? Do you respond to requests or trends on TikTok? And then how do you navigate staying authentic while meeting their demands or expectations?
Well. I used to do a lot of commissions in the past. The problem was my skill set wasn't high enough at the time, and I didn't want to disappoint people. So we had to kind of bring that down a little bit. However, when like a large enough amount of the TikTok community asks for something, typically we try to pursue it, and I give it a good bash, and it really pushes me as an artist to do things typically maybe I wouldn't have originally thought to do. So it's great to be able to do that. With trends, I kind of actively avoid doing it in that one, I can't keep up, they're so fast. And I, while I show a lot of what I do and I'm quite raw in what I put out, there's also still loads of practice that maybe you don't see, and the time of it and the cost with glass trends just we can't. But that's okay. I think that in the same way that we don't put polished, refined, super perfect content out, it wouldn't really match with us anyway, I think. But staying authentic is simply just like turning the phone on and recording whatever happens that day and hoping for the best.
It's
Sometimes
definitely.
it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Have you got examples of when you've had a lot of requests in a particular area that and you've thought, oh, we'll try this?
Well, the glass nails being a
Yeah.
big one, there was the huge one. I was making my flower bouquets. It was part of my learning journey and what I needed to practice the skill. And we were making all these petals. And even at the time before we had posted, my partner like looked over my shoulder and was like, oh, they look like petals. And then loads of people online started saying it after we posted as well. It was like, okay, yeah, everybody's thinking this. Let's just give it a go. Not at all realizing what that was going to lead to, and completely changed kind of my work, my business, my entire last 6 months, and going to Paris. So yeah, it's funny how if I weren't to have pursued that, what I would be doing. So
Yeah,
they
I
do
was going to
fully
ask you
influence.
about that. So how did they get picked up by the fashion sector, and how did you get invited to Paris Fashion Week, and what was it like when you got there?
Yeah, well, yeah, I made this video of like basically making petals and blue tacking them onto my fingers, making them look like nails. And it just so happened to be that someone who already follows us, Diane, who is a fashion designer and she's a curator of these runway shows and stuff as well. They were doing this event, and she was like, I just had to reach out. Would you be interested by any chance? Could you do it? You basically got like 6 weeks to do this thing. I know that's no time, and I completely get it if you don't want to. And I was like, this, yes. I don't know how we're gonna do this, but we'll find a way. And before I know it, I'm learning brass milling, I'm learning how to braze things and like metalworking, which was completely outside my wheelhouse. I was setting myself up for failure, it feels like, looking back. Somehow we did it.
Right? You got to take a
Yeah.
risk sometimes.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
So I was going to ask you about the nails because when you create a new product like the nails, do you have to think about protecting the idea to avoid other people copying it if you want to kind of monetize it, which I guess we all need to do in order to make a living?
Of
Are
course.
there any intellectual property protections that you can seek, or is it just a case of getting out into the marketplace as quickly as possible and trying to corner that niche of the market?
Both. It's basically both. Um, I had no idea about IP protection and that kind of side of the law. So that's been a lot of learning too. However, I have a wonderful lady who is basically my consultant when it comes to these things. She had her glass business with her father, so she ran me through all of her expertise. Thank you so much. And so yeah, no, we're trademarked, we're design registered, we have copyright for the actual nail sizing guide. So we're all good, and we did that ourselves. We didn't do it through a lawyer, which would have cost thousands. We learned how to do it ourselves, and that's something I'm hoping that once I'm completely through all of these and it's come to an end, which we're pretty much there. That's something I can also share, and hopefully other people can learn how to protect their work and how they go about doing it, particularly with such a low budget, which small creators, they don't have the funds to do this thing. And I think that's how a lot of these small creators are exploited, is because they can't get the protection. Whereas in actual fact, they can, they just maybe don't know how. So it's nice to be able to have figured that out.
Yeah, we would love to collaborate with you on kind of getting that expertise out there for other people. That would be fantastic.
100% more than happy. Yeah, I wish we had this information months ago, because it's shockingly actually achievable and simple. And I think more people need to know.
Fantastic. Yeah, we've worked in the past with Acid, anti-copying in design, and they would probably be interested in collaborating with us on something like
On
that.
that. Oh,
That'd
that's
be
really
great.
exciting. Yeah.
Because I think it is different for crafts and for like visual arts or literature. It's often a bit more complicated on how the best way to protect things.
Mhm.
And often with a lot of our members, they're working within traditions that go back generations, so they're not personally responsible for the entirety of the design. It's something they've inherited, maybe added their own touch to or put their own tweak on it.
Mhm.
And then do they think, is that mine to protect, or does it belong to the lineage? It's quite tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, and these are all questions I can actually
Mm.
kind of answer now. So that's for
Brilliant.
another time, obviously, but that would be great.
Excellent. You're going to be our resident expert. Fantastic. So in terms of other pieces that you've created, is there anything that holds particular emotional significance? And what can you give us a story about that's meant a lot to you?
Yeah, I think the one I actually literally just finished this week, the local primary school asked me to basically talk about world of work. All these parents come in, they talk about their occupations, and they asked me if I would come in and talk about being an artist. So I made, I got all the kids to basically do a drawing of a goblet. I supplied an outline of it, and we created one of them. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to do them all, which would have been wonderful. But engaging such young minds, like if you can imagine it, then most likely you can create it. It takes time, it takes perseverance, but you can do it, and it's fine if you don't get it right the first time. Like just being involved in that and making something has just been wonderful. I don't think it's an experience I'll ever forget. So I'd love to do more of that kind of thing in the future too. But just directly engaging with people, and people who are so young, because normally I record things, it's on a screen. I don't really see the impact that it has. Whereas doing something like this that is in the community, it's in real time, is it's really special.
Great. I don't know if people have had a chance to see that on TikTok or Instagram, but it was absolutely fantastic. You really captured the expression of that picture.
Thank you so much.
The eyes on it are kind of a bit goofy. It was great.
I wish I could hold it up to show you now. It's just it's in a box and ready to go. So
Mm,
I don't want to accidentally break it or something just before I show the kids. Could you imagine?
um, it would be good to kind of hold on to those other drawings maybe as inspiration for the future.
Yeah, yeah. I could maybe do more of them. That'd be great. I
Mm,
thought I'd hand them back to the kids and be like, right now, go make this out of cardboard or go paint something, and like,
yeah.
the designing to making.
I've seen other social media content creators, and they take kids' drawings and turn them into like plushies, like cuddly toys, and that's
Yeah.
fantastic as well. So yeah, it's a good idea for a series.
We'll see.
So actually, the next question follows on from that because there's so many things that you could be doing. I imagine your brain is just full of ideas. So how do you avoid creative burnout? And do you have any rituals or habits that keep you grounded and kind of stop things getting out of control?
Sure. Creative burnout is a very big thing for me. I think if I mastered all this and I was just a pro at it, maybe it would be different. But it is a lot of learning. It's a lot of trial and error, and that can be very exhausting. Particularly when you've got kids at home as well, and there's a life and work balance. So I find just the second I start to notice those kind of symptoms of burnout, it's just like, right, cool, slow everything down, take a day off, like, because taking that one day just to rest rather than like push and push and push and push. And then the burnout gets so bad that you need a whole week to recover. So actually little breaks quite regularly really does allow things to like keep going at a nice steady pace. That's what I found that works really well for me, is actually just like being really kind to myself, being forgiving, resting promptly, and then moving on. I think that's the kind of best advice I wish I could give to myself years ago. It's
Yeah.
don't feel bad about resting and taking a break. Particularly as an artist, I feel like we need to show up all the time, and it's actually you've got to look after yourself.
Yeah, I think there's a degree of self-awareness that's necessary to do that.
100%.
And that's something that people tend to develop over time, I think.
Mhm.
And yeah, nature as well. We know you've got a deep love of nature because you've also got a popular foraging account on TikTok. So do you feel attention, or maybe come on to that a bit further. Do you want to say a little bit about the foraging account and that element of your life?
Yeah, it was a very interesting time. It was COVID. I At that time of the glass stuff as well. I felt very isolated. It was very I think it was difficult for everybody, really. But my mental health definitely took a plummet. So I was like, right, I'm just going to go out into nature. That's where I'm happiest. Again, like going back to childhood, I spent so much time outside. So I needed just to do that. And I found this foraging book, this Collins Gems, food for free. And I thought, wow, okay, I'll just go for a little bit of a scam, thinking I wouldn't find anything. And I started finding all these things, and I documented it thinking, again, no one's going to watch this. This is purely just for me. It's like, it's good for my mental health and it gets me out of the house. And it just blew up, and people loved it. And it was definitely more of a kind of like, it wasn't something I wanted to pursue online. It was something that I just got a lot of joy out of. I wanted to share that with other people. So it's definitely something that like takes a lot of a backseat these days, and I do sparingly. But I'm just I would like to do more with it and combine it with the glass. So making your foraged ink, making a glass pen to go with it, making perfume from flowers that you distill and then put it into a little bottle. And there's so many creative projects where you could actually intertwine them. It's just having the time to do it all is
Yeah,
a bit
for
difficult at
sure.
the minute.
It's always entertaining to see the comments on the foraging account, people realizing, oh, are you the glass blowing lady as well?
Yeah, I don't get it. It's like a Clark Kent moment or something, but it's just like, I look the same. I don't understand why people don't realize that it is the same person. It's very
Yeah,
funny to me.
very context dependent, probably, isn't it?
I guess so, yeah. Very funny.
So yeah, do you feel at all that there's a tension between your environmentalism and the energy demands of a craft like glassworking? Because it's quite energy intensive, isn't it?
Yeah, I think particularly with traditional furnace glass blowing as well, it's not the most eco-conscious craft out there. However, with flame working, it's far more kind of sustainable in its practices in that instead of just using pure propane, it uses oxygen as well, which means you need a lot less gas to get the temperatures that you need. So it's far more, the modernization of it has made it so much better. I think there's still loads of areas of glassblowing where, of course, things could be more eco-conscious. And I would love, love, love to see that a lot more in the development, particularly of equipment. But with it being such a niche thing, it's a dying craft. That I guess there isn't really the demand for that. And I'd like to see that change, I hope, in the next few years, or perhaps if that's possible.
Yeah, we've got a partnership with the Queen Elizabeth Scholarship Trust, and we've been running sustainability awards. One of our winners last year was Alistair Malcolm from Stourbridge Museum. He's a glass blower, and he's implemented lots of amazing techniques and solar panels and special insulated furnaces and kind of warming chambers and things. So he's really reduced his kind of carbon footprint, and he's willing to share with others as well the techniques that he's implemented. So
That's incredible. That's amazing to hear. I had no idea about that.
yeah.
You'll have to write his contact down for me.
We did an online event with him a few weeks ago, and we've got the recording on our website, so I'll share the link with that afterwards, or maybe Biz can find that and pop it in the chat.
Great. I'm watching that the second we're finished with this.
Brilliant. And am I right in thinking you've experimented with recycling glass as well, like crushing up bottles and things?
Yeah, it's that is actually, yeah. We basically, it's bottle glass is very interesting as a material. People assume that furnace glass, Pyrex glass, so the bottle glass is all the same recipe. They are so different in how they melt and how they set and all that kind of thing. Their qualities are very, very difficult to work with. So working with bottle glass is not quite as straightforward as I initially thought it would be. However, yeah, we were taking household glass like bottles, wine jars, that kind of thing, and hopefully melting them down and making them into something else that hopefully instead of it being a single use item that you then just throw away, you can actually turn it into a bowl or a cup or something that hopefully you could use for months, if not years. So just getting more life out of the material. It's still a work in progress. I thought it was going to be kiln based, but then you're very limited to the size of your kiln. So I've got a new method, which I'm calling the hot pour method, which is a little bit more like a furnace glass blower techniques, but we're going to do it on a small scale, trial it. If it works, hopefully then we can actually start rolling out something in just the local area where we do a bottle pickup. We can then process it here. We can then turn it into stuff and then sell it to the local community. I really, really hope that the way I've got it in my head, but I need to do more research, more learning first. But it's something that's the grand plan at the end of all of this, is to be able to do that.
Fantastic. You need to clone yourself so you can do that at the same time. Um, Biz has put the link in the chat for the event we had on the sustainability, and you might be interested in the other award winner we spoke to, Rachel Colleague, as she makes a leather alternative from fruit and vegetable skins as well, which is incredible. She didn't share her entire technique because obviously she needs to protect her kind of IP as well, but the work that she's been doing is fantastic. So do check that out.
I will, yeah, thank you.
So we've got a few more questions, but I thought we might come to the chat and see if there are any audience questions, and then we'll come back to those ones. Introduce Biz Fretty, who is our philanthropy and membership lead. Hi, Biz. Have we got any questions in the chat?
Yeah, we've got a few. I think y'all touched upon a couple of them, but it'd be nice to maybe highlight where the audience interest is. So the first question was any helpful tips on artists trying to garner more of a following? I'm assuming online, but maybe
Yes.
in person.
I guess my advice from what the typical advice is, I kind of go against all of it in that we're very raw. I think just if you're wanting to grow a following, if you love what you're doing and you get enjoyment out of it, people will enjoy watching you because I think just like watching anybody passionate, you get sucked in. So like being yourself, and don't be afraid to put it out there, even if it's really small. It doesn't matter. It's like the amount of learning you're going to go through and like what works and what doesn't. I think it's just like the more you do it, the more you'll figure out what works for you. I know it's very, very loose parameters, but instead of like getting too much in your head and like, oh, what, how do I do this? How do I do that? Just start, just begin. You need a basic phone. It doesn't matter what your studio looks like or what you're doing. Just start sharing a little bit each day and it'll become more natural to you. That's my main advice.
Do you feel like you posting every day kind of also you get into a rhythm of it, or just post when you feel like it?
I would say don't hold yourself to things that aren't going to be achievable because that immediately makes me feel bad. If I was having to post every single day, within 3 days, I'll be like, oh my God, I haven't done it. And, whereas actually just posting when you can, post what you feel confident with posting, talk to camera, make sure you show yourself, hello, I'm this person, this is what I'm doing. The rest of it can then just be focused on POV. It can be what you're doing and stuff, but make sure you smile, make sure people see who you are, because they want that connection with a person as well. But posting, I think once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks is more than fine. It's still enough to grow.
Okay. And what leans you more towards TikTok versus Instagram or other platforms?
It was just the easiest for me. I found that the growth was there, the audience were interested, and I just simply didn't know how to use Instagram, to be honest. But you can cross post very easily as well. So if you're worried about like, oh, I have to do different content for different platforms, no, make your life easier. Record the one thing, cross post to all these different platforms, so that you grow hopefully universally throughout them all. Yeah.
Nice. This one's a little more regional specific, and I can add some in the comments for this answer, but curious for your perspective. Audience member saying, I want to try glass blowing. Do you or anyone you know do any kind of glass blowing workshops for beginners in the London area?
London, there are a few glass blowers. If you wanted to do flame working versus furnace glass blowing, they're very different. So maybe being specific as to which one you really want to pursue, or it may be that you want to try a little bit of both. I think more accessible is the furnace glass blowing workshops though. There's a lot more of those kind of setups. They may have jewelry makers or flame workers in-house. It's just kind of reaching out and asking. A lot of them do have like a kind of experience day where you just get to go in and have a bit of a flavor and a taste. Also just messaging some of these studios, because it may be that they actually do want an assistant, but they don't advertise. So if you happen to be the right person right there with the enthusiasm, you never know what might happen. So just shoot your shot, I would say.
Nice. I will also put in the chat for anyone, our craft map on our website does have members of ours who are makers, and they list based on their postal code. So you can put in the zip code you're looking for specific crafts on our craft map, and maybe that will help as well. So I'll put a link into that in the chat.
Brilliant. We should also say that the Heritage Crafts staff team did an experience day in with Beth at Blowfish Glass in Stour Bridge just before Christmas, and we made these paperweights, and it was such good fun. It was amazing. We really enjoyed it.
Yeah. She's the lady who worked with Pixar for Elemental, I believe.
We didn't realize that. That's
Do
amazing.
not say that. That is something to flex more often.
And that's typical artists though, isn't it? They don't like talking about stuff. I'm pretty sure that was her. Maybe at the time she was working on it, so couldn't talk about it. But like, I think it was her.
Yeah, it could well have been. We'll have to find that story out and put it on our website or something.
Yeah, you have to be like, Beth, what the hell?
But we really enjoyed it. We did have somebody who's very organized send a question in advance. So Lena, I can see you're in the audience. Do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Hi, thank you. I'm a keen newbie to the world of glass, and I've done a few courses in flame working, but I'd love to turn this into a little bit of a career for myself. So if you've got any advice to someone starting out in the wonderful world of flame working, what would you suggest in terms of things like workspace setup or studio time or different courses? And I also just wanted to say congrats on New York in the summer.
Thank you very much. Well, hearing that you've already done some courses, you've had a flavor of it, you know kind of what you're getting into. My main advice would be, finding a space that's suitable was definitely for me like the hardest part, just to actually get the practice time in. I had just like a little shed at the bottom of my garden. It was good enough. Making sure the ventilation's good and you're not going to do yourself any damage. And all of my equipment I found online. There's a shocking amount of actually oxycons and torches and stuff where people have invested in some of the equipment. Maybe they haven't been able to make a thing of it. So there are things out there, instead of spending so much of your budget on new equipment, which it is an expensive thing to get into. So eBay and things like that is such a great shout. Is that the kind of thing you're looking for, or did you have any more specific kind of things you were looking to know?
I think it's just the kind of that was really helpful in terms of just being able to find stuff online in terms of torches as well, because I've had a look online trying to find kind of rental studios, like rent out a studio for like a couple of hours. It's not really accessible, but no, that was really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I think with the hiring spaces as well, because I looked into that in the early days as well, because it's open flames, it's like, it's a lot of people basically turn me down because they're like, well, it's too dangerous, where our insurance won't cover that.
Yeah.
So I had to find something that was essentially private. Even I don't know, there might be a local garage. Someone has a double garage that they're not using. You can rent for 50 quid a month. Like go on maybe even Facebook and just kind of hunt around what's out there, because it might surprise you.
Bro, thank you so much.
You're welcome. I hope that helps.
Yeah, but ironically, it's probably the flame workers that are more focused on the safety aspects than other people. You're probably very safe, very aware of the dangers of having open flames in the workshop. So Lena mentioned your scholarship in New York coming up this summer. Do you want to tell us all about that? Because we'd be very interested to hear.
Yes, Corning Museum of Glass has been my goal since I started my whole skill tree and learning journey. To me, it was one of the best places in the world you could go and learn, and it meant that if I got in, I had really made it. I'd become a glassblower, and I applied for a summer scholarship, a few courses. I had no idea if I was going to get in, if my skill set was good enough, because I'm mostly self-taught, and that was quite an insecurity. But I gave it a go. 2 courses I didn't get into, but 1 I did. So I'm going to be going and learning goblets. I am so excited, not just for the course itself, but just be I'm very isolated out here in the sticks in the countryside. There's not a lot of people who work with glass really here. So to be just surrounded by all these different people and specialists and artists is going to be life-changing, I think. So I'll be documenting it all.
Yeah.
I've got permission. I make sure to ask. But I've only got 3 months really until we're going, and that's going to fly by. So I'm going to try and get through my skill tree as much as I can, and make sure I'm like up to scratch and show up the best I can. Really.
Fantastic. So it seems like the pinnacle training institution that you considered, but also the goblet making as well. You said was the pinnacle of the craft that you wanted to develop.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So, thank you, universe.
Congratulations. Oh, we're really looking forward to following that part of your journey.
Thanks.
So I thought we could reflect on the future a little bit. So how do you see the future of your craft evolving, especially amongst younger generations who are starting to discover it through you and through other people on social media? Are you optimistic about the future of the craft?
I mean, I really hope that more people get into it. I'm hoping that by what we're doing internally and kind of our future can impact others. So, for example, with these glass rings, we'll be able to actually hire a team of people and bring them in and train them up and give them their little skill tree of like how to learn basic flame working, and then if they get more advanced, and if they then leave one day, which in a way I hope they would, that they would then have the skills to then teach other people, and it like, you know, trickles out. And particularly if we do manage to do this eco glass thing as well, that's a whole other skill set and niche that we can again bring people in. We could have a little like mini factory going on where we're doing these processes, and even if you I don't know, to bring those kids in from the local schools and be like, this is how we recycle glass, and you inspire them to do things. And I really hope it just works the way I think it will.
I think we'll get a lot of applications, people wanting to take up those opportunities.
Well, we're just so our location is the problem. We might have to move somewhere a bit more central so that we can actually be nearer to people. But it's finding the right spaces for that as well. And but we'll learn. We'll just, as things trickle and progress, we'll just roll with the punches as we do.
So do you think teaching is a big part of your future? Because I know many craftspeople do it to diversify their income stream, and they may or may not have a kind of a burning passion for teaching, but they do it anyway. What about you? Are you passionate about teaching in the future, or what's the situation?
Yeah. Ironically, in secondary school, I wanted to do my PGCE. I wanted to become an art teacher. That was my like goal. Couldn't become a teacher because I didn't get the grades, ironically. But yeah, I think definitely opening it up and teaching, even not only just doing workshops and training staff and stuff here, but I think actually going onto YouTube and doing long format videos where the big glass blowing books that most people learn from for flame working, it's like, actually, okay, well, we mapped out a skill tree for this. Why don't we just start like filming everything from start to finish? This is how you make a pen. This is how you blow a bauble. This is how you do this. It'll have to be in the way that I've learned how to do it. But even people who just like Lena, who wants to learn at home, there's the learning resource in video form. I think providing that as an education source would be great. It's again, just having the time to do that at the moment, but it will come, I hope.
And you talked about having people in to start making some of the products. Do you think there's ever a tension between the demands to create a commercial product and the more creative side, or do you see those things as working together?
I hope they can work very harmoniously, especially with having like teams that are dedicated to like, okay, you've got maybe 8 people who make the glass nails and that's their jam and they love it. And then I can do the kind of like social media presence and also doing like brand deals. I noticed that when we hit over 1 million, all of a sudden we had all these agencies were like, this big brand want to do that. I can't talk about them right now, but they want to do this, they want to do this. So I'm now working on these projects with big global brands who want to do stuff, which is a lot of pressure. And I don't know how I feel about it, but I'll give it a try. But yeah, I hope that all these elements will balance nicely. And the more people you can bring in, it just naturally grows.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to get to the state where you're just churning out product and it's not inspiring
No,
you.
no, I think we'll always stay small. We'll always be handmade. We'll never be manufactured. It's a craft. It's people behind what we're making, and that will forever be what it is, I think.
And in terms of the brand partnerships, I've not noticed any kind of advertising on your channels or
The hush hush
deals or things. So how do you think you'll incorporate that and remain authentic, because
I
not being
think
seen as a
because
sellout?
well, yeah, no. Well, that's it though, right? But I think any brand that approaches us is fully aware that it's not refined. I'm not. That's just not who we are. So I think the people who are interested in reaching out and want to collaborate know that it's a learning journey and that they actually want to support it, which is really sweet. Particularly when it seems to be very varied industries at the minute as well, which is very exciting. Yeah, and as more of them we go through, maybe the better I'll get at it. But I'd only ever, accept the ones that I really felt spoke to us and made sense.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to endorse something that you didn't believe in yourself.
Precisely. Yeah.
So I think there were a couple of questions related to this, but I had a question about any advice you'd give emerging artists or craftspeople struggling to balance that integrity and commercial viability and to support themselves financially. Should they hold out for their creative vision even if they're struggling to put food on the table?
When I started all this on my own, after I did my my learning with Bristol Blue Glass, I was newly pregnant. I was about to become a mum. I was waitressing, which meant like minimum wage. It's a lot of staying true to yourself and making sure that you're putting the time into yourself and you're learning. But yeah, it's slow. It's clunky. There is a balance to be made. And there are sacrifices that you give to one and then the other. And that is unfortunately just part of it. But I did find that going part-time instead of full-time, I was still bringing in money. I could still support myself and my family. It meant, eating beans for a long time. But we managed it. And thank God I did, because I think too many people, when it is really hard and when it's for those really, really early stages, they don't want to take the risk. And so they don't, which you feel like is the right thing for your family. You want to do right by other people. But there has to be a slight element of not selfishness, but if you don't put that time in and commit to yourself, then it's not going to happen. So it is hard. It's not easy. But if you can push through the first year, I think you're on your way.
Fantastic. And I guess a lot of craftspeople don't think about the social media element as well and the time you have to put into that in creating content. But then there's potential payback with the creative fund as part of your income.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a balancing act, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Let's go back into the questions in the chat. Biz, were there any more that came through?
Yeah, I think we've covered a couple of topics. I think there was a little bit more on just in terms of glass techniques that you've worked with. Are there any besides, I think you're talking about glass blowing, glass fusion. Is there anything else you're interested in learning and trying? Someone's asking about stained glass, mosaics, things like that.
Sure. Not so much stained glass with it being cold works. I definitely have a draw to like the flame and the heat and
fire. Yes.
Yeah, fire. There's something wrong with me there. But I would love to do furnace glass blowing. Desperate to do that, and it's really interesting how many correlations there are between flame working and furnace. So yeah, it's just the equipment is so difficult to get hold of. So one day. Ceramics as well, doing lots of mold making, so we can do more casting and things like that. We're doing brass milling for making our own tools. Like, I just want to learn all the different elements that surround glass as much as we can. But pretty much all of it.
And this might be a hard question, but as of today, May 1st, what is your favorite piece you've made so far?
Is I want to say the one I'm working on this week, which I haven't shown anybody yet, and it isn't quite finished. But it's a little bit like the Glinda wand, like the staff I made. This one's really kind of combining a lot of different skills in a very, I hope to be quite showstopper kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
I know you want me to say something that's like what I've already done, but it's because I'm doing new stuff every week. It's, my favorite changes every week.
Yep, fair.
But it's all surrounding cherry blossoms and goblets and that kind of thing. So
Very cool. Nice. A couple other ones we've had. I guess one would be for someone who might have the setup or tools and are still kind of feeling that block with their skills feeling more basic. Is there like one thing you would recommend just to focus on in terms of resources or advice to keep leveling up your skills if you do have a space to do so?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think just it's okay to show up just a little bit every day. So if you're just like, for me, beadwork or making pens, it's like, okay, I only have 30 minutes of like I've got all this other stuff going on in my life and all these commitments. 30 minutes to just like practice something, even if you think it's just really mundane. It's the repetition, it's the training your hands. It's not really what you're seeing in the artwork, it's what you're training your body to physically be able to do easier each time you do it. So that being the big one, I think, rather than doing kind of like not doing anything for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and then doing really heavy 2 days, you're not going to have the same level of build up in that skill as if actually just little and often is better, in my opinion.
Wonderful. Well, I think the last question we had was just, do you ever take interns or mentees?
I've had a couple of helpers in the past. When we start doing these nails, I genuinely think from the traction we've seen, I think it's going to grow very quickly, and I am going to have to hire a few people all at once. If you live in the local area and it's realistic to apply, then we will be looking. Yeah. Yes, I think it is right around the corner, all those things. Up until recently, I haven't even had the gumption to think about training somebody else. I've just been training literally myself. But we're at the stage where I think we're about to see quite a big shift.
Exciting.
So terrifying.
Brilliant. Thank you, Biz, and thank you everyone who's asked a question in the chat. We're coming towards the end now, but just before we started the event, we were chatting about Trejayne's iconic purple glasses that people think are a fashion statement, but they're actually PPE, aren't they? And yeah, we were talking about the possibility of commissioning some kind of steampunk goggles with those particular lenses in. So if there's any leather workers within our community who'd be interested in collaborating with Trejayne on that, I think it'd be really cool.
I would be so grateful. I wanted to commission these ages ago, and yeah, it's a lot of these are made only in one size, and I've got such a tiny face, so they end up slipping quite a lot. So yeah, some goggles would be very much appreciated.
We've just been collaborating with the Leather Sellers Foundation to provide some bursaries to some early career leather workers. We were about to announce 5 of them, so possibly one of those would be interested in some sort of collaboration, which could be really fun.
Yes, yes.
Brilliant. So just before we end, I'd like to thank you all for coming. A special thanks to those in the audience that have donated during the sign-up process. We really appreciate that. We're still a small charity and we rely heavily on donations and grants and our benefactors and our membership as well. We don't receive any public funding. We do always say the best way to support us is to become a member. It's a small financial contribution, but it also, you're adding your voice to our growing movement, talking about the benefits of craft and its value to the UK as a whole and to us as individuals and communities. So yeah, please do come to our website and sign up as a member and be part of our community. That would be fantastic. So just before we finish, it would be nice to reflect on something exciting that's coming up in the future. Well, you've already talked a bit about the scholarship in the summer, but what else have you got in mind that maybe you could share a little taster with us about?
Oh, I do, but I can't talk about it.
Well, we don't want to force you to reveal something that you shouldn't.
So yeah, yes, there is, but yeah, it's just that little bit too early, I'm afraid.
Well, that's a really good prompt for anyone who's not already following you on social media to sign up now and to find out the latest as it's revealed. But thank you so much. It's been a wonderful hour. It's been great to hear your take on things, but also your enthusiasm as well. And yeah, hopefully we can maintain contact, and maybe you can help us out with the IP area as well. Try and get that expertise spread to other crafts within our membership. That would be great.
Yeah, 100%. And thank you so much for having me. I've had such a blast today. Thank you.
Great. It's been brilliant. Thank you, everyone. Lovely to see you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.